Sanchez, and this is for those of you who don't want to just be rich but free and do what it takes to get there. Okay, this week, Bryan Callen, oh my fucking God, so good. I was on the floor laughing this entire podcast, also learning things that I never expected to learn. If you don't know Bryan, he has been an actor and a comedian for decades. You might have seen him in The Hangover 1, The Hangover 2, Ride Along. He had Mad TV. He is on Joe Rogan constantly. In fact, he left my podcast today and went to Joe Rogan afterwards. Bryan is an incredibly skilled actor and comedian with a huge Netflix special that's going to be coming out. Without further ado, let's get into Bryan Callen and apologize for the hyena cackle of mine you're going to hear often. Although sometimes they call it a donkey bray. You could really take your pick. Also, you guys, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do. And this week, we just went right into this bad boy. There's no like, hi, Bryan. Hi, Cody. Thank you for coming to the podcast. We just roll. So tell me if you like that this week, will you? Will you tell me in the YouTube comments and also let me know on the actual podcast? Okay, off we go.
It would blow your mind. You'd be like, what? Yeah.
Also, I think there couldn't be anything worse than being famous and poor.
There are plenty of them out there.
That's tough.
There are plenty of them.
Are people ever weird around you because you're funny and so then they try to be funny? Like, I got a little nervous when you came over. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell a joke. I'm not funny naturally. Stop telling jokes.
It's not true, though. It's like humor is, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, humor's how we, if you think about humor, there's an intimacy to humor, right? Mm-hmm. So typically you can, a lot of times, mark a lot of the great moments in your life with how much you are laughing with people.
Yeah, that's
especially your friends. And I think something about laughter is, it's a little bit like taking the whole chessboard and throwing it in the air. But by the way, don't underestimate how important it is to be able to laugh.
Yeah.
A guy like me, if he's around somebody and they are connected and they're really laughing.
Yeah.
That's incredibly, that's also amazing. That's a form of, I'm having an effect on you and you're having an effect on me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a lot of people feel really insecure when they're around a comic. I can't be funny like you guys. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, that's got to be a normal interaction, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. And probably it lessened once they're actually around you. Then they're just like, oh, okay, it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think you can always be funny. My default is probably funny because it's a way of coping with the chaos and enormity of life. And maybe the fact that part of what's hard about life in some ways is you can do everything right, plan everything to the nth degree. And I promise you, most likely you will be derailed because it's just how it happens.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to happen that way. But the way you can cope with that is to, not take yourself or it too seriously.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I'm like a big Alan Watts fan. Do you know Alan Watts?
Watts?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean,
like, do you ever listen
he studied the Vedanta, That's why he always said, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Buddhist. Alan Watts was always somebody who talked about cultivating the witness, right? So you're not your mind, you're not your emotions, you're not your body. You are that observer, and that sort of, so whatever happens to you, you can actually embrace. Don't resist it. I love when he said something to the effect of, you can't improve yourself or the world. That's a hard thing for especially Western people to hear, because we have improved the world. We have manipulated our environment.
Yeah.
But in fact, if you were to come in and try to make everything right in this room and turn everything top side up, there'd be a top side down as well. And it's a beautiful way of doing it. Like the part of you that wants to improve yourself is the part that needs improving. So you're in this circle.
I love talking to my friends on this podcast about how they made their millions, how they became owners, how to solve their problems. And I love sharing these talks with you guys because I think that's how we get rich together. But when I can't meet in person to do this, there's one tool I use, Riverside. Riverside ensures I can talk to anyone, anywhere, record it in high resolution, and have a quality video that I can share. And if that's not cool enough, they've got an AI platform where they can actually do show notes, summarize your content, add SEO required descriptions, and it's all programmatic. So you can do what Riverside does and use it for interviews, presentations, podcasts, and more. I love it because I don't have time for complex. That's why we use this technology, because when I get a deal, you get a deal. If you guys want to use Riverside, go to the link in description and use the code Cody and you get a deal too.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Do you ever listen to he has like these great little Spotify playlists where people put like lo-fi beats to his stuff. Yeah. That's how I know I'm like middle-aged. I'm listening to like self-help while I'm listening to music.
But that's
yeah,
what
that's
we
not
get
great.
to.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you get to. I think that you start to realize that accomplishment and, you know, if you get whatever attention and status, whatever the things you do, you know, when I was 53, I think 52, I drew a line through sort of everything that I had come to LA to do. It was kind of cool, right? I did this, you know, and you better be careful when you do that, because it's not actually, when you get to the top of that wall, whatever it is that you set for yourself, you're going to realize that there's got to be something more. You know, you somehow need something to push against. Yeah. If you take away what you have to push against, this is a bit trite, right? We've heard this 1,000 times, but I don't know, man. I think the reach is more important.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same thing with money. People always go, nah, actually, like, happiness doesn't increase materially after about $500,000 a year in income. And when I was young and I heard that, I thought, I'm going to fucking try. Like, let's just see. Like, let's see what happens. And then you do get, I don't know if I believe the $500,000 mark, actually. I think there's like a few more levels to the game. But like, you know, you can't hear it until you get there. And then you might be able to understand. I always like the Alan Watts thing where he's like, I don't know why it fucked me up so much, but remember when he talked about how he's like, think about life like music or a song. Like, what if we listened to music and we were just like, oh, the point is like to get to the end of that song. Like, we just wanted to get there as fast as possible. Then we go to a concert and the concert would just be like a cacophony of noises until like as fast as possible it was done. That would be silly. That would be so silly. And he's like, that's how we are in life.
He also said if you were to achieve enlightenment, let's say you just were to achieve this thing, this elusive goal called enlightenment, you'd be right here in the same place. Nothing would change. That's an important concept too.
Yeah, it's true.
So, you know, and I think that I think about that a lot. You can make a lot of money. Good for you. I know people who've got a lot of money, and you will buy a lot of safety and comfort. And I had this thing, it's part of what I'm writing about in my special, which I'm going to shoot actually at Rogan's Place in January. So you got to come by.
Absolutely.
And it's about, I don't think the Garden of Eden was paradise. I think the Garden of Eden was a form of hell, which is why there was an apple, which was why there was an escape portal, which was that snake and apple. Because I don't think you'd want to be in a garden where nothing could kill you. The only reason you want to ride a motorcycle really fast is you might fall and lose all the skin on one side of your body. Sorry. The only reason you'd rather pet a tiger over a cow is the tiger might turn around and bite your face off. That's exciting, right? You know, everything is that way. And if you take away that struggle, so, you know, the idea that she bit the apple because she was a sinner, she would probably call it an escape. You know, get me the fuck out of here, because I need to not know what's around that corner. That's called adventure. Yeah. And if you have no adventure, you have no fun. And so that's kind of and if you make a lot of money, if you do it all right, and you hit every marker for yourself, and I'm going to quote my friend who studies the Vedanta. He said, you can hit every goal you set for yourself and ruin your kids' lives. Oof. And to extrapolate on that, if your kids have never flown commercially, you're probably going to spend a lot of money on rehab later on. 100%. Ain't that the bitch?
Well, and also, you know, a lot of times these days you see these really successful, quote unquote, successful people, and their kids are fucking nightmares. And you're like, how good of a human are you if you had like sort of one real job in life, which was you brought this person in. Like, that's kind of your fault one way or the other.
It's so hard though.
Do you have kids? This says from somebody who has 0 kids.
I have 4 kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard because it's the handicap of wealth, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up, the way I grew up was, my father made some money, not a lot, but he was a banker and other things. And I grew up all over the world. And I grew up in the 70s in the developing world. So I was born in the Philippines. I lived in India, in Calcutta and Bombay. I then moved to Lebanon and then Pakistan and then Lebanon again. And I was in the war. And then we were evacuated to Greece and then Saudi Arabia. Now, in that time, We also traveled to, I don't know, places like mainland China, all over Africa, East Africa, actually, I shouldn't say all over. And places like, I said Yemen, but mainland China, Yemen, Africa, Syria, everywhere. I went everywhere.
Only the nicest
And what
places.
I saw was real poverty. People who are on the losing side of history. But guess where I saw it from? From behind the pane of an air-conditioned car, the glass of an air-conditioned car. I was protected by these United States. I was an American citizen, a white kid with blonde hair. And I saw kids my own age begging. I saw when I was in Kenya, we were in the countryside, and I gave somebody, I hated my lunch. We had these box lunches. We were on safari. And I gave it, and they tore it. They fought over it. Oof. That's humiliating for me. You know, that's because what happens is you're so embarrassed by how lucky you are for no reason. You're so embarrassed by the fact that I knew even as a kid, I was like, I've never had my belly empty. And I'm seeing real poverty, I saw leprosy. People your age have never seen full-blown fucking leprosy in a marketplace in Damascus. I have. I saw that stuff with my own eyes. And when I say that, I'm talking about somebody with no nose and no fingers, with advanced leprosy. I saw that. I walked by that in the bazaar. I saw people with elephantitis because they didn't know what to do. So I saw these advanced diseases as a kid. I saw them. I smelled it. I was right next to it. And I saw, and when you walk through a souk, when you walk through a bazaar, in whether it's Pakistan or in, and I was very young, or in Syria, or when you're a very young kid and nobody gives you context. I remember I think I was 14. I went to Russia when I was 18, and I was with my friend who spoke Russian. We were in Gorky Park, and this is when it was a communist country. Everything was monitored, but I stole away. I hooked up with this beautiful girl named Svetlana. I'll never forget it. It was so awesome. I was 18 years old.
Did.
Had sex with her and her friend. At 18, I'm not kidding. And like her and her friend, Christina. And my friend was like, oh, he was all like, oh, I was like, I was. They were like 21. It was in the Cosmos
like
Hotel.
Russian agents.
Crazy story. Whatever. Put me in Siberia, bro. It was the greatest. 18 years old. It was incredible. But I remember being in Gorky Park with these Russians. They were asking me in Russian because my friend was able to interpret. They were asking me what kind of cars there were. I gave the kid my Nikes and my blue jeans. And they were like, they couldn't believe it. Like it was like currency. The same thing with mainland China. When I was there in 1981, I was 14, I think. And I remember everyone was in a blue pants and blue shirts, and they had the same haircut. And they were all on bicycles. Because with Mao and the communists, they wanted to get rid of category, right? I saw that stuff. And so, again, you get to go back to the United States, you get to go back to wherever you are, where you're safe, where you have representative government, where you don't have to worry about a knock on the door, you never have to worry about where your food's coming from. You never have to, most importantly, see how humiliating it is for your mother, your father, to not be able to feed you and the family, to not be able to kind of like even speak their mind. I never had that. My father was my hero because he was an American and he was able to say whatever he wanted, and he had money, and he was able to, it's like this, the best way to put it is this. I grew up in a part of the world where you had to forego who you could be for who you had to be. Yeah. And I'm quoting Daryl Cooper now because he said that in a podcast I listened to, so I don't want to take credit for it. But I thought about that a lot, and that really, that creates a lot of guilt in you and a lot of shame,
Is that...
And it should probably. I don't know where we were going with this, but you were talking about...
Well, it's interesting because I sometimes think that maybe the reason why we had that whole white privilege movement where we were shaming children for being white and American. Yeah, I think it's really perniciously...
Most white people are not privileged.
Exactly. But I think that it was a little bit based on some of the people had these ideas. They're like, well, I've lived this way. I've never had hardship. And I don't know. I'd be curious your take. Part of my thought there is like, I don't know, instead of being guilty and shameful, why don't you do fucking something with what you got? Like, did you?
Yeah, that's how I.
That's what I did.
I've never. Yeah, I mean, no. Listen, what I did is what's good about having historical perspective and perspective in general is you go, I'm lucky. I get to make a living with my imagination, I get to do something called original self-expression and make money.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking? And I'm not going to do that. That's why I work so hard. That's why, like I don't want to die thinking I didn't mine everything I could. This next special is the best fucking thing I've ever done in my life. The best. And I can't wait. But it better be.
Yeah.
It better be.
So what actually made you go from acting to comedy? Because now Netflix special, you're on tour right now.
Yeah,
What's
I mean,
the change?
I just loved, I mean, you know, I've never been on set where I didn't want it to be over. It's a terrible thing to say.
Really?
It's acting is like piecemeal. It's just piecemeal, man.
Like lay it out. Like what does it look like?
You're doing it a page at a time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
watch this. Watch this. I'm going to do a scene. Ready? Let's do a scene. Okay. All right, action. You got to give me my money, my friend, or we're going to have a problem. Cut. Bryan, can you, when you bring the coffee, you're blocking the light. Can we get a different light over here because he brought the coffee? Just can you bring it down and then swoop it up? Yeah, I got it. Okay. Action. We got a problem, my friend. Looks like you owe me some money. Huh? Okay, Bryan, cut. Can you don't say it into because the mic it's getting you said it into the coffee. Could you say it this way and then try to take a sip? It's important to take the sip because we want you to savor it, but there's a little alcohol in it. Fuck it. That's all day.
That's
all day.
awful.
There's a shadow on her face and also her hair is different. You see how it's doing this? Can we?
Oh.
Yeah, come on in. That's what you do all day. I'm not kidding.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's why actors drink.
Yeah.
It's like, get me the fuck out of here. You know?
Why do you think so many people like it then?
Because it's so hard to get there.
Yeah. You're like, I tried so
And then
hard
once
for
you're
this.
there,
it's miserable. We're
yeah,
here.
yeah. Well, it's not only hard to get there; it's hard to sustain.
Yeah,
it's hard to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Like I think Jay Leno said, like no one is in first chair for more than 6 years.
That's such a great point. Yeah, especially women. I think we're like 2.5.
Oh my God! Once you lose your delicious sitting there, it's awful.
I'm way past the
Katharine
hill.
Hepburn talked about that. They all talked about that. You win an Oscar, they don't. It's adorable.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Where's the
and
next young? You know.
And there's so many beautiful women, especially today. Like maybe it used to
And
be
talented.
enough if you were. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's super. So, okay, so you went into comedy and I think I heard you talk about how Joe Rogan was one of the people that was like, "Hey, get into comedy, do stand
Well,
up."
I had been doing stand up.
Okay.
But then I was acting, and I wanted to be Robert De Niro, or I wanted to be, I don't know who I wanted to be.
Interesting.
I loved that. I was pretty good at it. Like, I did a lot of theater,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And, you know, and I worked really hard at acting. Like, I was in class for years and really doing plays and theater and working on scenes. And
I'm just
with
picturing
great-
you like dancing. So like,
And I took
you're,
dance,
you're leaping.
and I took voice and all that horseshit. Yes, I went to formal theater school in New York City.
I don't know why I
When I'm a thespian, you understand? This is the reason I speak this way. I drop my jaw, and I'm really good at expressing myself. And that's how you used to speak. It was called the Skinner technique, of course. And you weren't English, but if you ever listen to William F. Buckley or Katharine Hepburn, there's something about them that's almost English.
Right, that.
Yes.
Well, Alan Watts. Is Alan Watts English?
No,
but he
was
talks the
English.
same.
He was
Oh, fuck. Well, he was
English.
actually
He
real.
was British.
Okay, he
Right,
wasn't.
well, William F. Buckley, of course, spoke this way. I mean, if I would actually romance your argument in the real world, which I would never do, but I will here for sake of I suppose the cameras. It's like, oh, dude, you're. But that. You know who talks that way? Ann Coulter. She still has a little bit of a because the British,
Yeah.
the British, you know, if you came over the Mayflower, or that was very
And the
important.
chin thing,
Yeah, there's certain
too.
things. It's stiff. It's very British.
Also, you
That
know what I've
exists.
noticed, which I probably will get in trouble for, but now we're doing like a few things. We just signed with an agency and for like a book tour and stuff, like nothing fun or real. But why do all Hollywood agents sound the same, even if they're like from Jersey or Florida? There's like a Hollywood agent voice.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? I'm not going to try it because I'm terrible at accents.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like they all kind of have like a weird.
It's probably because they're all originally from New York, or they used to be.
Oh, you think
Now
that's
they're
why?
from LA, but
okay.
typically in remember, Hollywood was a Jewish invention. Okay, you know when people are anti-Semitic, you know, I'm always like, all right, that's cool, but you do know that improv stand-up even, to a large extent, but certainly improv, and certainly Hollywood. You like movies? It was created and founded by really European, East European Jewish refugees.
I didn't know
so
that.
was the whole garment industry.
You knew that.
Right?
Yeah.
So there were certain things. So when you were an agent, you were typically like you were a bit of a rebel. Your mother, if you were probably from Brooklyn, and your mother said you're going to be, you're going to either have your own business, you're going to join your uncle or your father's business, you're going to take it to the next level, you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a cop.
No.
You're not Irish. You're not gonna put your money in a mattress. You're not Italian. We're gonna put it into a business. You got, and a lot of the Jewish refugees were they could sew. They were garmentos. So that's why they came to New York. But the larger point is that there was if you were a bit of a black sheep, you went to Hollywood, tried to be an actor, played an Italian gangster.
Wow.
You were a producer when you realized the acting wasn't where the money was, or it was hard to do. You're like, maybe I can put people together. Or you became an agent, right?
I don't know that.
But certainly a lot of the great comics,
Yeah.
all that Sid Caesar and Rob Reiner, why were they comics? Because in that culture, in the Jewish culture of New York, kids were indulged. If you're British and you're of the aristocracy, you're seen and not heard.
100%.
When
Or
you're
Latino.
a Jewish kid in the Lower East Side, and your whole family's crammed into a tenement, you're there and your voice is as loud as any adult's. You can talk back to your parents. You can make everybody laugh. That was the Marx Brothers, right? So the larger point I'm making is that traditionally the agents that were all in Hollywood were Jews. They were Jewish. And they all came from kind of the same part of New York, same ecosystem. So, like Robert Evans, they spoke a certain way.
Yeah, they've got a vibe.
There was just a way. It's just business. What do you know? There was a way of doing business. There was a language, and it was really mostly New York. People are always shocked with Donald Trump, with the way he insults people, or the way he's politically incorrect with his words. That's fucking New York.
Yeah, it is.
That's construction site New York.
It
doesn't matter that he was a blue blood. He's also Irish and with German, so he wasn't necessarily like that British thing. His dad got his hands dirty.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was joking with Tanner the other day, our creative director. Like, thank God we're in the era that we're in now. Maybe it helps that I'm a woman and I'm Latina. That's like a double check box.
Are
but
you? Oh yeah.
yeah.
Codie Sanchez.
But I'm white presenting, But it's helpful.
I present female.
Yeah.
And white.
Yes, exactly. If I could do an accent, I would do that. But the stuff that we even say here, because we run a bunch of laundromats and car washes and roofing companies. So half the time I'm like, I'm not supposed to say that anymore. If that was on the internet, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Which kind of like actually makes me think about. So the other day, you can be my therapist. The other day, I gave a speech. Like, doesn't matter, to not a small, a couple thousand people, but
It's a lot of people.
and I fucking bombed. It was like, I've never done that before. I did a really bad job. I was like, overtime. I don't even know what happened. And like, there was no reason really. And like, what's interesting is like, it didn't matter. Like, no. I wasn't going to die. Nothing mattered. But the reaction that I had from it was totally unreasonable. I was like, oh, fuck, that was terrifying and awful and the worst thing ever.
That's okay.
But have you like had that happen with jokes and stand-up?
I haven't, Cody. I'm really good.
You've never bombed ever?
No, I'm joking. Of
And
course.
did it feel awful?
Yeah.
And does it still?
Supposed to. I mean, I've been doing it so long that I got my bag of tricks, right?
Okay.
So it's not going to...
So now you pull a rabbit out of
It's not going to... I'm not going to ever do an hour where
Yeah.
you're not going to laugh.
Yeah.
Where's my camera? That was obnoxious. Let me rephrase that. What I meant is that I'm never going to do an hour where you're not going to laugh.
Yeah.
Hard. Really hard. Is that my camera?
That should be your special clip, actually. We should cut that. I want to do a video for you and do a little Instagram reel for your special. And I think that'll be really good.
That's good.
But in the beginning, like, do you remember the first time you really bombed?
Oh my God. It's so terrifying. I don't know if anybody, if this is how you equate it. If you've ever been in a real fight, like where you don't know who the guys in front of you are going to be, like you can't feel your legs.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you train. I mean, maybe if you're like inoculated stress. If you're a regular dude like me and you're going to have to fight, you can't feel your legs. You just know, I'm like, I'll put my weight on my back foot and I guess here we go. You know, good luck. It sucks. It's the same thing. I remember feeling that. I remember feeling that. I was like, I feel like I'm about to have a real fight with somebody I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to kill me. I don't know who he is. You know, I don't know. You know what I mean? That feeling of, and then you do it long enough, and that just completely goes away.
Yeah.
Like when I shoot my special, I won't be. I promise I won't be a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in hitting every mark. I suppose hitting every beat.
Yeah. Well, then you get.
Well, I want to say what I want to say, and I want to be thematic about it, right? Not that anybody will watch it through because we don't. We all have TikTok brain now.
Yep.
You know, but for me, that's my diary of what I think is important, what I'm interested in. You know?
Yeah.
And
it's almost like you can't bomb hard enough for the audience at a certain point because you got a base level that's quite good, but for yourself, you're just competing against yourself.
What I would say to you, though, maybe the way to avoid that in the future is to really dial down on what you're saying. Sometimes when we're not quite sure, we get into this gray area. And it feels like, I didn't see the speech, but it feels like when that happens, just take a look at whether or not you've really carved down to its essence what you're trying to say. What is your philosophy? What are your principles behind business, if that's what you're talking about? What are the mistakes people make, you know? And what are the shortcuts you can give people so they don't have to make the same mistakes? I always say I'm older, right? So the reason you should listen to me is not because I'm smarter. I'm really not. I'm not. But I have made more mistakes than you have, and I've wasted more time chasing the wrong shit. So, you know, I might be able to recognize when you're heading for a wall. And if I tell you to turn the wheel a little bit, just listen to me. I'm an old guy. You know.
I don't think we actually have enough older people around us as young people to get feedback.
Yeah, experience is...
Because comics you guys do,
dead.
That's like a thing. You know, you kind of...
It's not really. It
Really?
sort of is, but it's not.
What do you mean?
There's an irreverence to comedy. There's not a community as much. It's really a solo thing.
Interesting.
You know, it's like I remember when Rogan and I went hunting. The first time we ever did Meat Eater. And I just, you know, he was like, hey, this is tough. We're representing the comedy community. And I said, yeah, you know, that tight-knit bunch. And he started laughing really hard because it's true. It's like, we're all hopelessly individualistic and just a bunch of misfits.
Actually, that makes...
Good people, but I'm just saying...
Well, it's funny you say that because I was looking at a study yesterday about how there's a study in Japan where people who laughed more frequently not only lived longer, by like significantly longer, like 20 to 30% longer than their other peer group, and this was a long-form study over a series of decades, but also had a decrease in disability, so less Alzheimer's, less even macular degeneration, so losing of your eyesight. I thought that was really interesting. Like, laughing's good for you. I think we all kind of know that.
Community,
But specifically, laughter could have even been individual, where you watched something and laughed. But what I thought was also interesting is then you have the flip side, which is there seems to be no increase in happiness for telling jokes, only for hearing them.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Right?
Because when you're telling jokes, well, that's why comics are miserable. I'm not.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics are, I mean, it's because, remember, there's a famous actor I won't go into because I'm a fan, but he saw me at a party, and I'd met him before, but he wanted to talk to me because I was a comic. It was kind of cool, right? And I was dating my now wife, and it was cool to have this very famous person kind of like, you know, approach me and, you know, blah, blah. And then what I realized is that, he was using me as essentially an excuse to perform. And I went, yeah, and I do that. So we all have this. When you're a performer, you have this unflattering shadow side, which is, look at me. I want all the attention. I'm a vacuum cleaner. I have a lot of that in me, and it's not a very admirable trait. And it certainly doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you more happy when you're looking to be the center of the world.
Actually,
but you can replace that. You can replace that with trying to be, for lack of a better word, an artist. And what does that mean? Again, doing something original that no one has seen, surprising yourself. And that's what I do now. And so then your comedy goes from being, I'm not saying I do this, but certainly the ideal would be, I'm of service. Let me do something to make you laugh. And that feels good, man.
Yeah.
That feels good. You're connecting with people and you're making them laugh, and you're doing it because you can, and as a result, it's because you should. I was put on this earth not to invent, rockets, but to be a jackass and get you to forget about your life for a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think you can be really funny and be happy? It seems like a lot of comedians are dark and twisted.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think Rogan's very happy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have. It just depends on your personality trait. Maybe a better way is that when you are a dark person, there's very little open to you, but you cope with just trying to be funny about this brutal thing called life. You were born, a lot of times shorter than other guys, weaker than other guys, not as athletic in any way. You never had any victories. You never had women like you. These are traumatic things for men to go through when you're an adolescent and stuff. But you're funny, right? You're funny, and now you get, like, the cool kids think you're great, and that you get addicted to that because you're accepted. So that's where a lot of comedy comes from. For me, I think comedy came from being moved constantly. I was always thrown into a whole different set of kids. Hey, we're moving to Saudi Arabia, but I have a dog. I've been here for 2 years. I go, now you'll figure it out. We're moving to Lebanon. I know, but I have another dog here, and I have a snake. What are we going to do? We'll find a home. Yeah, right. What the fuck? All right, see you later, everybody. There's no email. No, bye-bye. So, and here's a new group of kids in the middle of the school year. And I learned very quickly that don't be the last guy picked on the team. Be a little bit, look, that was coordinated enough to be, not a hindrance on a sports team. And also I got good at making people laugh quickly. And I got really good at reading what people were ashamed of and what they were proud of. That was my superpower, my communication superpower, if I may, is I was really good at figuring out what people were ashamed of. We all have a side of us that we hide.
Totally.
And that's the side we're proud of. And I think if you want people to like you, and if you want people to feel comfortable, and you help them hide what they're ashamed of, but you accentuate and you highlight and you speak out what it is they're proud of. And we're all that way as human beings.
That's so good. It's funny because it's true. Like we have this incel movement in the U.S. now. We have, I read a study the other day that we have 55% more single women from 2000 to 2023. And then, of course, it makes sense, sort of what's happening even politically in our country, because they vote predominantly Democrat, and men increasingly of their age vote conservative or Republican, and the women increasingly don't want to actually date those who have this different perspective, which is very silly to me. Yeah. But what I think is really interesting is this incel movement is a lot about Tinder. I mean, I'm friends with Sean Rad. I like him a lot, the guy who created Tinder. But we were talking the other day. I'm like, fuck, man. I mean, the app is inherently swipe, visual, and like, what have you done?
And if you put that you're not over 6 feet.
Yeah.
There's all these weird things.
Right.
So 10% or 5% of the men get all the girls.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And so I think actually it'd be really interesting to have more of like a comedian's perspective on, for young men, like, yeah, okay, you're not rich, you're not maybe smarter than everybody else, you're not better looking, but fuck me, if you can make somebody laugh, we show, 1, you can make them live longer, 2, it makes them happier, and 3, I bet a lot more chicks like you.
Yeah, but you know what? Men are terrified. This fourth wave feminism has gone from fighting for equal rights to saying men want to kill and rape you. And so with social media, a woman can say anything. And I know so many my relatives who are living in a world where they're very aware that they could do something in college and somebody doesn't have a good experience with them sexually or intimately. And 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, they say X, Y, and Z. They get a story.
Yeah.
What do you get? A statement. But you're done. You're done. And they're very aware of that. So there's a lot of that too. Men and women have been pitted against each other in this. It was always and already adversarial in the United States.
Yeah.
It was always adversarial. It was always like, there was this thing where boys and girls separate almost voluntarily at 6 years old, and they don't really come together until college. Mm-hmm. So when you're in college, all of a sudden you're living with a woman, or a girl, and you're a boy or you're a man. But typically it's a boy and a girl, and you're living with somebody, and you've been around guys your whole life, and she has a different consideration. Yep. And you think she's crazy. Yep. And she thinks you're insensitive. And it's like, and you have there's no mechanism, there's no bridge in which to work it out. You can go to a therapist, but nobody's going to get a freaking therapist. Guys aren't taught that. What do you mean a therapist? They just like, stop being crazy. Oh, that's helpful, right? Yeah. You're not given those tools. Mm-hmm. And like, I remember my girlfriend fell asleep during Raging Bull, my favorite movie. And I was like so outraged. Like, how the fuck do you fall asleep to the greatest movie? I broke up with her. I was like, she can't appreciate Raging Bull. Hey, dumbass. Now, of course, at 57, my wife is watching, and my wife's smart and great, and I love her, but she's my favorite person, but she's watching Love is Blind and can't get enough of it.
Oh,
and it's getting all involved. I'm like, Jesus. I can't watch 1 minute of that shit.
But
it's just what she's interested in. I'm interested in stats when it comes to fighting, or, in UFC or in I don't know, in football.
Yeah.
Which is different, man.
Totally different. Yeah. I think one of the things that saved Chris and my marriage is we've sort of allowed each other to not give a fuck about what the other person's talking about. And so if at a certain point he's telling me a story that I literally couldn't care less then, I just go, yeah, it's so weird. Like the first episode of Gossip Girl really got me because she was wearing, and then he'll do the opposite to me. Like I was cleaning the Glock, and what happened is the hammer pull, and I was like, fucking don't care, fine.
There you go.
Okay? And we just have a little joke because it doesn't mean I don't love you. I just literally couldn't care less about that thing you're talking about, which should be fine.
By the way, thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, because also, I mean, I love hanging out with my person, and it sounds like you do too, but you got to also like have some girl time, have some dude time.
Well, my wife will tell me about her dream. Now, if I did that with a buddy of mine, he'd be like, hey, bro, is this a dream you're telling me about? And, like the other day, she was telling me a story. I'm not listening. And then she's going on. I'm like, yeah, and I'm trying to do something else. I'm like, yeah. And then this like ship comes down. And I go, hey, are you telling me about a dream? You tell me about, I'm trying to, she goes, yeah. I go, I'm not listening to you about a dream. Nothing happened. It's a dream. What do you mean a ship? I'm fucking trying to do something. I'm paying bills. Like, how dare you take 20 minutes of my day?
To be fair, I have a friend, shout out Shayna. She always tells me about her dreams. I also don't care about the dream. I think we need a moratorium on dreams.
You present mail.
I know, damn it. I know.
You don't.
But I think, I think we've gotten too into talking about ourselves sometimes. Not that Shayna does that, but the dream thing is funny. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about one other thing. Like, that's a little bit about this. We were talking about it when we were first, going to do the pod. Today is a weird week, right? We've got we got Trump on Rogan. We've got you on Rogan next today. We had I watched Tucker Carlson have Rob Schneider come out before him.
I love Rob.
And then I saw Andrew Schultz had Trump. Like, what is going on with comedians, and are they the new voice of reason? When did this happen? You've been in this game a long time and know a bunch of these guys. I never would have predicted this 10 years ago.
Well, Trump has a young son, Barron, and Barron's very keyed into what's cool. And Barron is a guy who's looking at his dad going, hey, Dad, you want to get young people? Get on Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, that was
Get on Joe Rogan. Get on all the podcasts I listen to. And that's what's going on. Is and to Trump's credit, and he's comfortable among the bros. And you can say what you want about bro comics and bro podcasts, but that's what men are listening to. And they're listening to it because it's first of all, it's also long form. So when you hear Trump talk for 3 hours or Bernie Sanders talk for 3 hours or whoever it might be for 3 hours, you not only get a very different perspective on who this person is, because you will settle. You can't sell for 3 hours.
Yeah, okay.
You end up settling into who you really are. Oh, good point. And that's a very, very different and new thing. And so your celebrity and your shine is no good here, my friend. And it used to be forever that when we saw a celebrity, whoever it was, they were on Johnny Carson or Conan O'Brien or Jay Leno for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And the questions were prepared, and you can be mysterious. You can be Johnny Depp and answer very few questions and dress like a pirate. And we were like, he's so cool. And Hollywood was a mystery. And everything was a mystery. And how they keep their bodies that way was a mystery. And then along comes, the internet and cameras everywhere. And all that facade goes away. Yeah. All of a sudden, all that sheen. And you got a guy like Rogan, who is not selling you anything. He's just talking, and he's not interviewing you. He's just having a conversation with you. And we get a sense of who you really are when you're just sitting around. And I think it's very telling that Kamala Harris wasn't willing to do, and I understand she thinks it's hostile territory, and it is. And I understand that she feels like she's probably walking into a no-win situation, because Rogan's going to ask you questions, and he's going to be Rogan.
And he's good and he's smart.
And she's just not comfortable there.
Yeah.
But I think it was a mistake. Because if she had sat down for 3 hours and spoken from the heart and really told us what she thinks, really told us what she really thinks about the border, what she really thinks about the economy, what she really thinks about fracking, what she really thinks about taxes, how much of the federal government should you be working for every day? What percentage? 50%, is that fair? How many people, 1% of the population pays over 50% of the taxes,
right.
Something like that. 10% pays 90%. I'd like to hear these conversations, but you're still trying to sell a concept like joy to the American people? Yeah. Is that what you're trying to do? You think we're that dumb? Is that what you're doing, Oprah? When Oprah's like, joy. I really want to be like, you're better than that. You're lying to us.
Yeah.
And it's not about Trump or Kamala Harris, but you're not being respectful, which is another way of saying you're not representing us because you don't think we're worth it. And more importantly, you think we're dumb. The average American, and I am an average American. Mm-hmm. I'm a capitalist. I have a business. If I don't put butts in my seats when I go out and do stand up, I got a problem. Real problem. I pay for it, okay? And most of us as Americans can't. We pay a price for being wrong. Yep. If I miscalculate, if I have a business, I pay a real price. So I live in a world of objective reality. And when you don't, and when you start talking to me about concepts like joy, when you start talking to me about the problem in the United States is that we're racist and transphobic and homophobic, when you say that somebody trying to run a business or trying to put their kids through school or just trying to make enough money so their kids can do the after-school baseball program,
yep.
All of us go, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know where you live because you live in an area code I can't afford anyway. You don't pay a price for being wrong. You make your living with your mouth by talking. And I'm up early, man, and I don't see this. I don't see that America.
100%.
I'm trying to get food out on the table for my customers. And I don't care if you're, what do you mean gender neutral bathrooms? What are you talking about? I don't even think about that stuff. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So true.
I've been going to my daughter's baseball, my daughter's, lacrosse games or tennis games, whatever the fuck sport is. I've been going to her games ever since she was 7 years old, trying to get her a scholarship because I can't afford it. And you want to put men in there? You want to put biological men who can come in and shatter records and get those scholarships? You want to do that to me after I've been a mom and I've taken my kids to all the... Fuck you.
Yep.
Fuck you. You're not American. You're not even a real human being.
No.
You're talking to me from you philosopher kings. You're talking to me from the Beltway. You're talking to me from Silicon Valley. I don't even know who you are, man. Yeah. I don't even know who you are. You have so much money, it's ridiculous. So is it a wonder? Is it a wonder that most of us are a little bit suspicious, a little bit feel a little bit unrepresented by that machine over there called the left wing. It has nothing to do, it's not saying that Democrats, traditional Democrats, don't have something to offer.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm fucking a far right guy. I'm not. It just means I'd like a little objective reality here, man.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, I think that's one of the problems with getting too much cash is, I think that it's wrong that we don't talk about money. I think we got to talk about money more because money is really just one thing. It's just, I get to assert my will more on you and you get to assert it less on me. The more I have on it, the more I push back on the world and I create my own reality with this like green piece of paper. Weirdly.
That's a great way to put it.
That's it. That's it.
Speaking of making money, if you guys haven't picked up the book, Main Street Millionaire, that I'm pointing to right over here, you definitely should. This book is all about how do you get ownership, which I think is the key to all money. It's not really about do you want to just only go buy a business? It's how do you become a deal maker and how do you become an owner, because that is how you get rich. If you already have a business, you should buy it so that you can figure out how to integrate more businesses into your business. If you have a salary, you should buy it so you can figure out how to actually negotiate upside. And if you want to understand what's going on in our world today with the big guys owning everything and us begging for scraps, you should buy it in order to read it too. You guys get a bunch of free downloads with it if you do this before the book comes out. So get there soon, msmbook.com. And for some reason, as we get richer, we don't talk about money anymore. It's not okay to talk about money anymore. In fact, it's like scammy and lowbrow and whatever. No, it's fucking not. You think it's that way because if you can get people to believe that we shouldn't share the only thing that actually creates a protective measure of freedom, then we have less of it, which is where we're at today. And so I remember when I first got on the internet, I was like, fuck, after you make some money, you don't really want to talk about it. I mean, Hollywood's a perfect example. Yeah. Nobody ever talks about money in Hollywood. Right. They don't talk about how much they make. They don't talk about where they are. Most of the time, actually, they just try to make themselves look normal again. They're just like, remember back when I stole candy bars? You're like, you haven't eaten a candy bar in 37 years. You didn't, that's not even a real thing anymore.
Right.
And that's okay that it's not real. It's awesome that you transcended this somehow. But I never really liked that, which kind of...
But the American Republic's really cool and very unique in the sense that you can grow rich and you can show it off. When Donald Trump said, they said, do you think Mitt Romney, it's a liability that he's so rich? And he goes, he's not rich, I'm rich. And the reason that Americans, the difference is the American experiment is beautiful because the reason we don't have pitchforks outside and the rich don't get, guillotined and lynched is because every American knows that they too could one day be a millionaire. Yeah. So there's the potential. The potential to be a millionaire is huge in the American spirit. And it's a large part of the glue that keeps this republic working.
You're right. Do you know the percentage of millionaires that are self-made in the U.S.? 79%. Which you would never see on the news, right? No. 79%. And I think that's a really good reminder. And also, they don't fucking stay there, which is a perfect point about being in business. Because most small business owners, 90% of our cash is in our businesses.
Yes.
We're not rolling around in dough. No. And also, when people get mad about
even
Donald...
billionaires.
No, that's what I said.
I know people who have $1 billion, they the huge money. It's all wrapped up in stock.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And one of my team members always jokes because you come on these podcasts and like, what's the thing that you spent the most amount of money on ever? Like, do you ever get asked that question?
Yeah.
And I didn't jokingly, I said it just accidentally out loud the first time, but I was like, well, people, and I was like, I don't mean it that way, but you end up hiring more people in business because that's how you make a business grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real answer for most people.
That's interesting too. I wouldn't have answered that, but
yeah, it's probably unreasonable that I have.
Though.
Wait, I want to talk about making money in comedy. So I went to a comedy show the other day at the Comedy Store in LA, and it was incredible. It was there were maybe 20 comics that went through kind of rapidly. Whitney Cummings was there, who was a big name. I like her a lot. And a bunch of other ones. I can't remember all the names, but a couple other big names. And it was, I don't know, maybe a 2-hour show, I guess, and 60 people in the audience. And so I'm doing the math. Nobody's making any fucking money.
That's not where you make money.
How
you make $25 for that.
You make $25?
Yeah, 15.
No,
you're not making money.
Wait. Whitney Cummings has to go there for $15?
No, but she's not doing it for that. No, you're doing it just to stay sharp, and you're doing it because it's fun and stuff like that.
So it's like a podcast almost. You come for free.
You make your money on the road.
Okay, so how does that work exactly?
You you charge a certain amount for tickets, you get the door, or you get a guarantee, or you get 8% of the door, or you get a piece of the alcohol sales. And it just all depends on how your agent works it. And if you can sell a theater twice in a night, you'll make a lot of money.
Define a lot. So like in you know.
So the comics that the big comics are making $20 to $30 million a year.
On touring,
Yeah.
or on everything?
On touring.
On touring. And that's because they're doing like, I don't know, 50, 60
Some of them are making
stops?
$700,000 a night.
On a night.
You know, like,
Okay.
you know, I mean, I don't
But it's not just from ticket sales. They get a percentage of alcohol and then merch
It's just
and whatever.
you're able to sell. You know, Matt Rife, I think,
Yeah.
sold a $65 million deal or something like that with Live Nation, something like that.
That
But
makes-
you know, but
oh,
Matt,
so he
but-
gets guarantees up
yeah, but
front.
people, they're especially a lot of women like love Matt.
Dude, great demographic too.
Yeah,
That like
and he's
young
beautiful,
women.
but he's also a great guy, and he's also works really hard at comedy, and he's also really respectful. I've known Matt since he was 17. This kid's been working his ass off.
And he's incredible at social media.
It's just that he never always was. He's just a kid who, you know, he's a beautiful looking human being. But
very
Matt's
cute.
also a guy he's also a good guy who really wants to be good at comedy and works really hard at it. And something just hit, and then a lot of young girls were like, a lot of women in general are like, he's delicious. He's delicious and he's funny, and I just want to go see him. It's like a rock star.
Is that what they say about you too?
Constantly, naturally.
Yeah.
And I haven't even done my hair. I'm going to get a hair transplant
Why?
because it's free. Because somebody's paying for it.
Seriously?
Yep. And I'm going to get 2,500 grafts. So you think I'm hot now? I am. I cannot wait till I come in and I'm going to be like that. Yep. And I'm going to get my face tightened. Yep. I'm not done. And then I'm finally going to go on testosterone and maybe some Anabol or Dianabol. I don't know the names of the steroids, but know this: my skin will be tight, veiny as fuck. I'm going to shave and I'm going to tan. And I'm coming in here and I will be in a tank top and I'm going to get tattoos. I don't have one tattoo, but I'm getting tattoos. What's the name of this podcast?
The Big Deal.
Yeah. The Big Deal.
That actually tracks.
Right on my
That actually
tits.
works.
But you're not going to be able to read it because of all the fucking divots. All the divots.
And the veins.
I hope you read Braille. Oh, I'm hilarious.
You are funny. I think we should go to this special. Okay, so you don't make a ton of money in comedy unless you're doing a shit ton of tours.
No, you make money. I mean, I make money in comedy.
Doing tours though. Like you can't really make it anywhere else. Like where else? A special? You can make money on a special? No.
That's
Really?
your infomercial.
Whoa, interesting. For you to
get
sell
paid.
other
I mean, you'll
things.
get paid, sometimes, but that's not where people are making their real money. They're
Interesting.
making money touring. It's just like music.
So what happens if you want to
Musicians
stop
don't make money
though?
off their album. They
Albums.
make money live touring.
So you have to Taylor Swift it. You got to have like this whole ecosystem around you.
Yeah, I met her a long time ago, one time, and she had just come off a tour, and it was a 365-day tour. And man, she was on a bus or a private plane, I think literally every night. I mean, they would come and play Tokyo for 3 days, and then they'd go to London, or they just do this tour. But I mean, it's crazy.
She
That's
seems like
really
a machine.
hard.
I don't think it. And you know what kills me with Taylor Swift that I am most impressed about? That she can make that surprised face every single time she goes on tour for like 25 years. And I still buy it.
Yeah, she's special human being. I don't know.
Yeah,
Part of
that's
it's-
next
part of
level.
it's being able to sing the same song over and over again. I can never do it. But
Me
she's-
neither.
Yeah, but she can do it.
So you don't do the same jokes. Like how does that work? Like for a total normie, do you carry like a joke book around and then when you say something funny, you write it down?
If I end up doing writing for me it's a mindset. You're always writing. But if I end up doing a show, I'm so I'm going to shoot this special in January, and then the horror sets in, because now I have to write a whole new hour. I throw it all away. And it's so difficult not to repeat yourself. It's so difficult not to be kind of on the same themes. It's so difficult not to, it's just so hard. So I'll go through 6 months of misery and maybe a year of writer's block and feel like a piece of shit and not like myself and all that. Just old standard shit.
So wait, that happens like once a year. How often do you do a special?
Probably every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Really 3 is, 2 years is like not enough time for me. I write pretty fast, but to let it really settle in.
Yeah.
Like just doing this, like this is going to be, I don't know, since Man Tears, I don't know, almost 3 years. Maybe it's 2 years.
Wild.
I don't know. But man, it's like, and it's everything. Talk about like every drop. It's like, it's everything I can do. It's my best. It's the best I can do. The best.
And do you get only one shot, or do you film three?
I'll shoot 2 or maybe 4.
Do you chop them together, like the best parts?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
But either way, it's just going to be a bitch.
Interesting.
So hard.
I bet.
That's not hard. Shooting is not hard. It's just that
it's
then
the actual
I have to
content.
then I have to be like, I got to write new jokes. I got to write I got to be thematic. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah.
I just want to quit.
No, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
What about how, like, kind of technically, and maybe this isn't how it works, but how do you start thinking about being funny? Like, how does one become funny?
I don't think you think about being funny. I think you have to do something very different. I believe you start with personal questions. What am I afraid of? Who am I pretending to be? Who do I want to be? Who am I really? How do I want to die? How do I not want to die? What do I want to say before I die? What do I want to think right before I die? What will I regret before I die? What do I honestly revere? What am I really afraid of? What am I pretending I'm afraid of? Get into those questions, those personal questions. And I think that anybody who writes anything, whether it's music or it's a movie or anything, is you're trying to answer a primary question. You're wrestling with a question. My obsession has been, what is a man? What is courage? What is it? What is masculinity? How do you define it? Am I a provider and a protector? What does that really mean? And what is courage? And what is toughness? And all these things that I grew up trying to be. What is real strength? What is it? And those are the obsessions I've always had, and I try to write about. And for me, they find their way through funny channels.
Yeah.
But think about, so what's a book? When you read a novel, the great novels. I mean, the theme of any novel. So the way to define theme, is it's essentially the author's argument for how to behave in the world.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And so I think that, frankly, my special is that way. That I hope thematically I get what I want to say across.
Yeah. And so you actually maybe that's why so often comics these days are a little bit like philosophers, because you're starting from really questions.
You do. When you're younger, you're trying to just be funny. It's English on a ball, but
what does that mean?
English that's a pool expression. I stole that from Rogan. But it's a pool expression. Like you put a lot of spin on the ball, but it doesn't mean you can run a table. It doesn't mean you're a great pool player. You're good at trick shots.
Yeah, you're like the Harlem Globetrotters to the main. Okay, sports analogy. Look at that.
Yeah, but it's true. It's great.
Okay.
So that's then you get older and you want to say something.
Right. I guess that's sort of even like you watch the evolution of Dave Chappelle. And like today, I remember we got to sit down and watch him and Rogan when he was doing it here during COVID, which felt really special because the world was so shut down. But I remember sitting there thinking, the most interesting part of this is not that we're laughing, although there is laughter. It's like the command of big questions and like watching one human really deeply dive into it live. I was watching Dave.
In tiny shows in New York 30 years ago.
Interesting. Did you know then?
28 years ago.
Can you tell that somebody is going to be great when you first see them? No.
Yeah, in a way, you can certainly tell somebody's going to be successful. Success is a mindset that you're probably partially born with. Rogan was going to be successful no matter what. He was a bulldog. But part of it's also growing up. How did you grow up? Did you grow up without a dad where the world was really dangerous and you had to figure out how to navigate the world? Was your heart broken at a very early age and you realized nobody was coming and it was all up to you? Were you 50 Cent? Where you had no one to go home to, and then you got shot 9 times, and you bled all your fear out in the back of that cab? Who were you? When did you meet chaos? You know, a great deal of world leaders lost almost, I don't know, some crazy percentage of them lost at least one parent before the age of 12, usually two. And if you're taught how to navigate that, if you're taught how to navigate loss, or you have the reserves, or maybe the imagination, maybe you were wired to deal with that. Maybe you had a stronger seawall. You'll come out, you know, much stronger. I think it was Nietzsche who said, if I ever had children, I would wish upon them deprivation and loss, and you know, uncertainty, because that's the only way you kind of become a fully realized human being. And if it visits you young enough, as tragic as it is, if somebody's there to help you, if you can find one outlet where you learn how to accomplish something, where you learn how to be good at it, you're going to always carry that baggage, but it makes for a strong piece of steel.
Yeah. I've never actually met a successful human who hasn't been through something that almost literally destroyed them.
That's right.
I think that tracks.
That's an important thing. As I'm at my age, if something really bad happened to you, just keep moving forward, because it may be the best thing that ever happened to you when you look back on it. Or as awful as it is, you may, if a gun was to your head, if you do it right and you keep moving forward, you will probably say I know you won't believe me now if you're going through it now, but you'll probably say, I wouldn't have changed it. It saved my soul. It saved my soul. And I know that's traumatic, but I believe it.
I get a little chills on that one. I think that's true.
That's because I'm bringing my voice down and I'm looking at the camera and I'm saying it in the air. And I didn't use Katharine Hepburn's voice, but I should have.
Do you have that whispery?
Yes, because I've got a great deal of soda in my voice, don't I? I do, I know. Yeah. Really, I put everyone to sleep with that.
Let's end with this one. I found a rather high number of videos of you and Brendan Schwab physically fighting online. What's the deal with that?
Because Brendan needs to learn. He needs to learn. And I don't like sometimes that he's disrespectful and I'm older. And I come at him. And sometimes as a baboon, that's British for baboon, I got to fight the bear. And a baboon, let's call me a dog. A dog's never going to beat a bear, but a dog can take the fight to the bear and just give him the what for. And in the dog's heart, as he's being crushed, he knows at least he had the balls to jump into the maw, into the belly of the beast. And part of it's just like, sometimes I like to feel what it's like to be killed by a grown man that easily, because it keeps me in check.
He's very large.
You have no idea. You know, he had this recent thing with Nate Diaz, and I like Nate and all that, but you know, like you have to understand that Brendan is a heavyweight, and Brendan walks around at 250, but a lot of times 260. There's not a lot of fat on him. He's bam bam. He's about as strong as your average gorilla, okay? And he's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu, okay? And I've seen him tap the most famous people you can imagine. I've seen him tap with ease Olympians. I've seen him crush very famous fighters, very famous. And they're all 200 plus pounds. I've seen it with my own eyes, okay? Many times. He never talks about it, but I've seen it. So if you are under a heavyweight and you're spouting off, just know that he's a bear, and there's a time where he's going to grab you. Now he was taking a nap one time. I jumped on him. I put him in a deep judo. I had my hips out. I had a gable grip. I had him here. I had him pinched deep. And I had him right here, and I was like, say something. Say it. And I mean, you're not getting out of that. Look at this shit. Look at that right there. I wish you guys could see what I'm working with, because I got chimp strength right there. I'm here. I'm pulling tight. I've got his head and arm, and you're not going anywhere. And all he does is giggle.
No.
Yep. He giggles, and then the curtain shuts, and then reality goes like that on me. And all of a sudden now I'm in a position that you don't want to be in. I'm basically his bitch.
Oh my God. So I think with the special in January, when we get your like number one Netflix spot.
Yeah.
Maybe that needs to be the end of the show. Just you and Brendan
Just fighting?
on stage fighting.
Wrestling?
Yeah, it's like the next stage. It's like UFC and comedy together. I don't think anybody's done it.
The problem is every time I try to do that, I've tried going takedowns with him, and I got a contusion on my ear. This side of my face was red for about 11 days.
All right.
He sprawled on me.
We're going to need to workshop this.
I'm
I
getting
don't
too
think it's
old.
perfect
Yeah,
right now.
I still do jiu-jitsu. I rolled the other day with a bunch of 20-somethings. I couldn't look left for like 10 days.
That's like after you work out with Tim Kennedy.
Oh,
it's
please.
not okay.
I tried to grapple with Tim on a beach in the south of France, very romantic, and I just remember being on all fours, and he was on top of me, and he very appropriately drew a heart in the sand.
He
was controlling me with his legs. And I'm a grown man.
I can see, and you talk about grizzly bear eyes an odd amount of time, but he has those eyes. Yeah, he has those like just dark shark eyes.
He'll take your head.
Yeah, but smile the whole time.
No, yeah.
Like a
He'll
psychopath.
kill you.
I
He'll kill
love that
everybody
man also.
One of my favorite people on the planet.
All right, Bryan Callen, thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to see the special. I can't wait. You're on tour, so I'm going to definitely come to a few of those. And on Instagram.
When do you think this will air?
Well, you could tell me when you want it to, and we can align
Just
it.
go to bryancallen.com, and I'll be all over Buffalo. I'll be all over Florida.
100%. And they should actually go to your Instagram first and follow, because there's some hysterical videos
Apparently
on
I'm
there.
very
You're also funny.
You're one of my 1 million followers plus.
If it feels like it's hard to you right now, like everything's more expensive, everybody's buying houses, but you can't, it's not working like you thought it was going to work, you feel behind compared to your peers, or you just don't understand what the future is going to hold because what you've built to date hasn't been enough, this episode is for you. I'm going to talk about why you're not crazy. It is really just hard out there. And I'm going to tell you all the stats so at least you can stand on solid ground knowing that you're going to have an uphill climb. And then I'm going to talk about what it's going to take for you to get to the next level of the game because it's not going to be anything like what people tell you today. This is me raw in this podcast. I'm going through a bunch of things right now, but I want to have a conversation with you because I think it's really important today. This is the Big Deal Podcast, and I'm Codie Sanchez. It is not just in your mind. You are not crazy. It is more expensive for you than it is for any other generation. Right now, credit card debt has hit a record $1.28 trillion. 49% of people cannot afford their rent or to buy a house today. Most of us are sitting here trying to figure it out. When they told us learn to code, that hasn't turned out well. Meanwhile, electricians are making like $100 an hour, and we went and got these grad degrees that have, on average, $76,000 in student debt. And oh, by the way, they're non-forgivable, meaning that debt will follow you around for the rest of your life. Not to mention, look at this video. And if you can't see it right now, this is what it is. It's how all the boomers told us that we were lazy little shits that bought too much avocado toast and had lattes. And it turns out they were full of shit because look at how much more expensive it is to buy a house for us than them. Back when boomers were buying houses, it was 4 years of salary on average. You know what it is today? 12 years. I don't know how much avocado toast you eat, but I don't think that's sufficient. And I was thinking about that today because we're sitting here this week and I'm not a geopolitical expert. I have no idea if we should have gone to war with this country or that country. What I do know is that we said, hey, government, we can't pay rent. We can't buy homes. Remember, 49% of us can't. And government said, best we can do, bomb Iran. What the fuck? It's actually crazy. If you were to go and look, I will pull this up for you because it's out of control. If you were to look, go to Grok on Twitter. That's Twitter's AI. And you were to ask it how much money we have spent in the Middle East on wars, the answer would be $8 trillion. That's 100x the annual federal spending on roads and bridges. So you're right. They, the collective they, pick whichever politician you want to, are using your tax dollars to do things that will never touch you in the U.S. Like, imagine how affordable groceries would be for the average person if we had spent things on, I don't know, maybe making it easier for us to farm. I saw this beautiful thing where as only Europeans do, really. But in Europe, they bought every household 6 chickens and they eviscerated the egg industry overnight. Like nobody needed the egg industry overnight because you're allowed to have these chickens and these coops. And it turns out you gave extras. So you gave them to your neighbors. And of course, this wouldn't work in super urban centers. But really, we can drop $120 million on a bomb, but we can't buy Americans some chicken. So I just want you guys to know it is actually really hard out there. And then I saw this other thing today that I want to read to you. So I was like, tell me if this hits you in the gut like it did for me. Employee goes, it looks like we made $1.3 billion this year. Boss goes, that's terrible news. Employee goes, that's a lot of money. Why is that terrible news? Boss goes, because last year we also made $1.3 billion. An employee goes, oh, right, I forgot. It's not enough to make an insane amount of money. We also have to make more than we used to. Boss goes, that's right. And simply paying our executives 7-figure salaries won't cut it. We need more. Employee goes, all right, I guess we could try making our product better to sell more. Boss goes, sounds expensive. Employee goes, how about we create some new products to sell? Boss goes, that's going to take forever. I need an immediate solution I can implement right now. Something that makes me look really good, takes basically zero effort. Employee goes, oh, please no. And boss goes, layoffs. And I just kind of think that that's what's happening in this world. So right now, if you feel like nobody's hiring you, it's probably not your CV's bad. It's that most people hire friends and relatives and people they know and colleagues, and they get jobs based on handshakes and looking each other in the eye. And if you're not actually out there talking to somebody direct, you're probably not going to make it. I was looking at some stories about people. For instance, there's a guy yesterday, MBA from Wharton, nice house in the suburbs. He was a big company employee his whole life, like a big, huge corporation. He was laid off 6 months ago and he kept getting to the final round and he's 54 years old. Like, that is rough. It's rough right now. And I'm not a pessimist. I don't think this is going to be this way forever. But I do think that we need to be honest about what's happening around us. That we have to normalize that if you want to win, you have to be almost a little bit delusional. That you have to do things most people won't. You have to believe you're the one. You have to go after it relentlessly. You have to focus so intently on the few things you want as opposed to spray like the system taught you to apply to 1,000 places, to use Indeed everywhere, to go to college and hope that somehow somebody picks you. No, it's so hard, but it's so true. Nobody will ever pick you. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to pick you. You have to introduce yourself. And if you don't introduce yourself, you're just not going to get ahead. And I was looking at this, today I did this post talking about how it's kind of not fair that we're spending all this money on other people in other countries. And right here, your tax dollars that you work so hard on, which, listen, it's not that I'm like, oh, fuck everybody who's not an American. That's not true. I'm just saying you didn't sign up to give away your life force, aka your time that you trade for a salary, to give it to everybody else when you're not doing so great. When you're doing good, when the average American, when 50% of Americans can afford rent and a house and afford groceries, awesome, let's help a brother out. In the meantime, why do we say take care of yourself? Why do we say you can't pour from an empty cup? Because you can't. If you guys aren't doing okay, then everything else in the world can't be getting more than you can. I think about this often. Like, how many once in a lifetime things do we got to go through? Now we have AI coming, which is something totally different. Now we have, a 50-year mortgage is basically what they've given us as a solution, when we all know that AI is going to disrupt a lot of jobs in the next 5 years. So it's kind of like, all right, 50 years, but I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I certainly have. I travel all over the country a lot right now. And I've sort of seen it in grocery stores and airports and people walking down the street and government buildings. Everybody looks a little drained, right? Everybody looks a little worn out. And I think that is a warning sign of how hard it has been in many ways for many people. And I just want you to know, I think there's 3 answers to this only. And the first answer is that you can never quit. That once you figure out what you want out of life, the secret is just keep going until you figure it out, because usually the thing you want is right on the other side of the time that you quit, gave up, stopped too early. And I know this sounds like hustle porn. Like, Cody, nobody can afford houses, just don't quit. I'm sorry, there's not a better answer than that. The first and best answer is prove that you are a person that doesn't quit, because those are the type of people that get hired, that get money from investors, that get more opportunity, that things get attracted to them. That's just it, period, end of story. Like, if you go into an interview and you don't say to them, I am the type of person that is so relentless that if you don't hire me for this job, I'm going to keep bothering you. Like, I am meant to come do this thing. Like, I need you to have an unreasonable amount of belief in yourself. Not that you can achieve anything. You don't even have to go that far, but that you're a dog on a bone. You're that pit bull that grabs and locks on and won't let go. And every single successful person I've ever met has that. They are just a dog on a bone, unapologetic for the fact that they will not quit. They will not let up. And that has to be you. And the second thing that I've realized is you have to lock in this year. You're going to have more distractions than you've ever had in your entire life. And you're going to have to figure out 1 or 2 things you can focus on per day, where at the end of that day, you feel like you made it. Almost every morning I call my president, Mark, and I have a shit ton of activities and he has a shit ton of activities. And I go, hey, okay, here's what I'm working on. But if I get these 2 things done today was a win. How about you? And he goes, yeah, these are my 2. We're like people with really big jobs, but we know every day there are the crucial 2. And we kind of kill anything that isn't that, because the world will try to take your attention. And it can seem rude. People come up to me sometimes, they're like, hey, can I talk to you about this? I'm like, not right now. No, actually. Or they'll say, hey, can I do this? Can I have your phone? And I go, no, not right now. I'm working on something else. It is that relentless. Because maybe in the past, when everything wasn't so crazy, you could just get by being a personality guy. You know, you could be like, that guy's nice. So it just like, he just nices his way through stuff. That could be enough, but I don't think it's enough anymore. You're going to actually have to kill distractions. You're going to actually have to set boundaries, and not like fake, with all due respect, I am also a millennial, not like fake millennial boundaries. Like, I don't work or answer my email after 5. Good fucking luck. Good luck. I mean, I love disconnecting. I'm like I tell pretty much everybody on my team always, unless we have something going on, I go, I work all weekend. You can ignore me. If I really need something from you, I'll text you. But like, you can ignore me in Slack on the weekends. Like, just ignore me. You can ignore me usually after work, but you should probably check it. And like, listen, I'm going to get raised for this on the internet, but it's just true. You're going to have to lock in, work incredibly hard, set boundaries, but important ones that allow you to focus on the things that work. You know what's crazy? According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans wouldn't be able to cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. So when you worry about why making it feels impossible in the US right now, you're not being dramatic. You're actually being honest. Wages haven't kept pace with costs. Attention's fractured. And the old playbook, work hard, get ahead, feels slower every year. So here's what's changed. Leverage now lives online. And the people building real momentum, they aren't chasing virality. They're building owned audiences. This is why this episode is sponsored by Beehive. Beehive is the all-in-one platform to publish, grow, and monetize your newsletter. It's built for operators, founders, people who already have ideas but are tired of renting their audience from platforms that can throttle reach overnight. With Beehive, you don't just send emails. You build an asset. You get built-in growth tools like referrals and recommendations. You get monetization from day one through their ad network, boosts, or paid subscriptions. You get analytics that actually tell you what's working all in one place. In a moment where stability feels fragile, ownership matters more than ever. If it feels harder to make it, stop trying to win somebody else's game. Build something you can control. Go to beehive.com and use code CODIE30 for 30% off your first 3 months. Because the new American dream isn't a job title. It is an audience. That's BEEHIIV. I think questions are increasingly more important than answers. Now we have the answer machine at our fingertips, right? AI in many ways. But it's like the right way you ask questions over time. And most people have maybe a 3-to-1 talk to listen ratio. My mom always said, God gave you 2 ears so you could listen more than you talk. I never listened to her about that, but that's what she said. But most people actually don't ask enough questions. And I think that is going to be the key today. What should I really work on? What matters? Where is my curiosity driving? Because do you think you're going to be able to win if you're like a kind of curious person? I mean, maybe this is the last one. Like, if I will take a confident executor with a sprinkle of delusion over almost anybody else. The entire game is almost all confidence. I love that little clip from Marty Supreme where she's like, what if you fail? And he says, I don't even allow that kind of thought to enter my reality.
Let me ask you something. Do you make money at this little table tennis thing?
Not yet.
How do you live?
Well, I live with the confidence if I believe in myself, the money will follow.
And what do you plan to do if this whole dream of yours doesn't work
That
out?
doesn't even enter my consciousness.
The idea of failing is not a part of my reality. I don't allow it to enter my consciousness. And I think that's kind of necessary. There's this cool thing. If you ever watch race car drivers before they go onto the track, they look crazy. We can show you a clip if you watch the YouTube. You can see it here.
5th gear, 6th gear, 7th gear, into 8th, flat out through turn 1, flat out through turn 2, bringing the car to the left-hand side, braking hard at the curb on the left through turn 3.
So basically, the race car drivers usually have headphones on. They have their eyes closed, and you kind of see them twitching their shoulders and hands and making weird little hand movements, almost like tiny claws. And just go watch a bunch of them before they race. They all do it. Why? What are they doing? They're actually visualizing the track. So usually in their headphones, they have the RPMs of the car going up and down, the sounds of the actual track. And then their hands are moving the car and thinking about how the car is going to feel while they're hitting those turns and imagining where they're going. They are so confident in their ability to execute because they've visualized exactly where they're going to hit it. And I think that's really cool. And in life, we might be able to do the exact same thing. And so even though it's really hard, even though it's not you, you're not crazy, it is harder for you, at least monetarily, than it was for your parents. I want you to know that there are things we can do to push back on it. And the things we can do actually don't just require more hard work. They require a little bit more belief and a little bit more focus and then a little bit more relentlessness on top. But I've been thinking about you guys because I've made my bag, by now. I've made a lot of money and maybe I could lose it all. Who fucking knows? I spend a lot of it on our companies and I invest a ton and most of my assets are all set up in everything that we're already doing and all these people you can't even see out here and all these other companies we invest in. But like, I've kind of made it and I worry about you who hasn't yet maybe made it or hasn't maybe made enough of it yet. And so I hope you feel that like you're a really big deal to me. Everything that we do is for you. And I'll push back as often as possible on the big guys who say that it's fine for the many to sacrifice for the few. I mean, I saw a tweet that just about sent me apoplectic because my husband is a former Navy SEAL. We have lost friends in war. And I have seen what it is like to shake a hand and then not be able to shake a hand, hug that guy again when he comes back. We lost one of our very good friends from high school. Charlie Keating was a Navy SEAL who lost his life. And I won't say the other two because they're not as public, but they died actually in service to the country. And so I saw some idiot. There's been 3 deaths thus far from this war. And somebody said, like, I just want you to know, like, your sacrifices are worth it. And I just wanted to be like, who the fuck are you? Did you send your kids? Have you saddled up? Is your husband or wife on their way to go do that? Who are you in finance talking about their sacrifice is worth it for you? And so I feel the same way. Like, it's not worth all of human progression when we have so many who are struggling here. And so tell me in the comments what you're struggling with, what we can help you with. Don't let them turn you into a victim. Believe that you're more capable because you probably are than you think. And keep going even though in many ways the odds are stacked against you. The last thing I'll end with is like, I truly believe, you guys, that if you use this time, these next 2 years, to buckle down and focus and build using the tools at hand, you can still unlock generational wealth for you and your families. It is here. It is possible. We see it happen every day in the boardroom. I saw it happen just the other day. One of our members, Jimmy, had a struggling business. He was barely scraping by. The business made a couple $100,000 a year. We helped him find one unlock in his business. That was $975,000 in additional revenue for him. Now him and his family are cruising. They've got a business that's doing millions of dollars a year. Like, you have the opportunity to do the unlock. We see it every single day. But unfortunately, nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody is going to come out and reach their hand and introduce themselves. You're going to have to do that. Let me know what you guys think of this podcast, and I'll see you next week. North Carolina. You just came back from North Carolina. You had shared quite a bit publicly, but about what was happening there. You flew in on the ground. You heard about everything else Tim has going on in the world. But where I wanted to start was maybe a little bit of the bad before we get to some of the beautiful silver linings you had too, which was, can you tell us what you saw there and what you guys were doing?
I saw failure. You know, we say that no one's ever coming to save you. This is an idea that I think all special operations lives by. You know, we have to be, one, intrinsically motivated, but more importantly, we have to be completely self-sustained, whether it's SEAL teams, the Green Berets, Rangers. When you go into a place, the expectation that's no one's going to come and get you. It's a scary thought that is the case for an American. That was the case there. These people were completely isolated. They had their lives, their existence was so dire. It was just like this tiny little thread that was keeping them alive. Now that temperatures are plummeting, you know, there's still isolated areas of Western North Carolina and Tennessee that are, you know, this is biblical, epic level proportions of disaster. We by the fourth day had a third trip going into Raleigh and into Charlotte to pick up more body bags. And of course, none of this is reported because it's an election year. The number of missing is still in the hundreds. And again, not being reported. And then in addition to no one's coming to save you, in the first few days, we are in direct conflict with the people that are supposed to come and help you. They didn't like that, the individual responsibility idea of, do you want to get out of my way? I can do more than you can. You have 5 helicopters. I now have 55 helicopters. How about you give us air priority and you get out of the way? And they're like, but what if one of you guys mess up? I'm like, we won't. Just literally get out of our way. But they were trying to control airspace for their 5 helicopters because they didn't like the operations that we were doing, which were in conflict to the priority of theirs. And everybody that comes and works for us has to be not just positive energy creators, but they have to, when they go into an area, they can't take off of the economy in any way. So they have to bring their own water, their own food, their own energy, their own communication ability, whether it's Starlink or Iridium phones. And I was trying to put a young man with his young, beautiful wife and their brand new infant child into a hotel. And when I got to the hotel at 4:00 in the morning after doing a health and welfare check on the infant that had run out of baby formula and they hadn't showered in 5 days, I go to the only hotel, well, there's 2 in the town that had power, and it was completely booked up with federal FEMA personnel. And I was pissed.
So, first of all, this isn't your first disaster area that you've gone into, both as an active duty member of the military, which you still are currently, but also, with a nonprofit organization or an NGO like Save Our Allies. That was you in Afghanistan as well during the last.
Now we're starting with some heavy stuff. Good morning,
I know,
Monday morning, everybody.
They're like, I thought we were talking about
sucks.
P&Ls.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to go to from there is, I was reading this tweet that you did that I thought was so good, and you had some silver lining, which was, you said, a 92-year-old Army Ranger vet volunteered to help the crew do evacuations. He said he is ready to go if we need him, said he hasn't jumped in 40 years, but has enough under his belt to help. I love the American spirit. So was there an American spirit that you saw despite it all?
Yeah, we'll super swing to the positive side of this. From Afghanistan to Western North Carolina, the response of the American people, the generosity of the entrepreneur and veteran community to do what the government couldn't even do. We're $35 trillion in debt because our government is so gigantic, yet it took a few individuals stepping up. Isaiah 6:8, I heard the voice of the Lord say, who shall I send? And I responded with, here I am, send me. Like that was the war cry to thousands of capable, incredible people. And that 92-year-old is I tweeted that to represent an idea. There were 25-year-olds with Toyota Overland. We make fun of them, and it's totally fine that we do because they're kind of dorks. and they came in from Tennessee, or they drove up from northern Florida, from Louisiana, or from Mississippi, and they got a couple of chainsaws in the back, Still or Husqvarna, and FEMA has roadblocks, and they're like, you guys aren't allowed to go up there. Like, you can't get up there. And they're like, want to make a bet? Like, I'll take 2 of them rednecks in a Toyota Overlander than over 100 PhDs from the federal government. Yeah. And they literally they could get into areas that nobody could get into. And they were bringing life-sustaining support to these people in these secluded areas. And it was just a will to make a difference. Grit. It was grit. So American.
I love that. How do you organize chaos like that? Like, I saw pictures of you sleeping in the back of your truck with like diapers next to you, baby formula, a little stove range. How do you organize a group of people in a time of chaos?
Yeah. Triage of, setting your priorities, and then being able to look at the resources that you have and apply the resources to those priorities. That applies to everything that you could do in life. Whether it's like, in my case, I have 4 kids at home and like a gorgeous wife. I got businesses. So in a day, I set my priorities of what I need to do. And then I look at the resources that I have, where it's, assistants and directors. And then I execute those things in accordance with the priorities. In a disaster area, I look at the priorities of work that we have to do, life, limb, eyesight, prioritize that by age. Obviously, in the bell curve, the older and the younger are more vulnerable. And then look to a map, and then look at the resources that we have. Cool, I have 25 overland vehicles, 55 helicopters, a total of 900 personnel. We have 2 warehouses full of sustainment supplies. So let's go ahead and task organize and triage the people that we need to get to, and then take the resources that I have and address those in accordance to the priorities.
Yeah, I think a lot of people imagine when you say special operations that you're just like, we're going to go shoot some motherfuckers, right? Yeah. They just think you guys are badass.
We are.
Chris, you are.
Yep. Right, Chris?
That is true. They're very dangerous men.
Yeah.
But they don't realize how much planning, logistics, and sophistication goes into what you do. So how have you translated that to the business world? Like, I've been in your office where you have like 47 businesses in one office, and you have, all of these sort of independent operators. What do you think you brought? Like, what was the skill set that you brought that was the most critical from the military to civilian life?
Yeah. There's no difference in leadership from military leadership to civilian leadership. Leadership is leadership. And when it comes to strategy, rehearsals, and time management, civilian and military approach to that, I think, should be the same. It's one of the many reasons that you see so many successful people from the special operations community take not that they're regimented, but they are disciplined in their approach with, Jocko with Jocko Fuel and Origin, or Evan Hafer with Black Rifle Coffee, or Mike Glover with Fieldcraft Survival. The list just goes on of these successful special operations entrepreneurs. And they really just take the models that they learned in the military and they apply them. So yeah, we do, the majority of our work is in planning. If I'm going to be going into a meeting, I know who I'm meeting with. I know what the ask is going to be. I know financially what I am going to benefit, the return on investment. And then in addition to the planning kind of strategic approach to it, we also, this 1/3, 2/3 rule of, we also spend 2/3 of our time rehearsing and kind of wargaming what the potential outcomes could be.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, so Bin Laden, before they go in, of course they planned it, right? If they had a month to plan it, they spend 1/3 of their time, they spend 10 days of their time planning. The other 20 days of that month, they just rehearse it. They rehearse and they rehearse. They rehearse their contingencies. They rehearse their reloads of a helicopter going down, which it did, Navy SEALs. 20 days, 1/3, 2/3 of rehearsals.
Running a podcast or any content operation is a grind. The editing, the clipping, the captions. It's enough to make anyone quit before the fun even starts. Enter Riverside. This tool is your content powerhouse. Forget decent quality virtual calls. Riverside gives you 4K video, pristine audio, and makes deadweight tasks disappear faster than bad ideas. Their text-based editor slashes, silences, and edits errors with one click. Needing some extra clips? Riverside's AI Magic Clips finds the moments people actually care about and delivers them to you. No guessing, no endless replays. And here's the kicker. You don't even need to record in the platform to use its features. You have the option to upload your footage to Riverside, letting it handle the heavy lifting. So you can save your brain power for the creative stuff. So stop drowning in edits, get busy creating, hit the link in the description, use code Cody, and thank me later. So how does that play out in your normal life? Like, would that be like when you go into a meeting, you have a brief for every meeting, like a military brief? Like, here's who's going to be there, here's the agenda, here's what I want to get out of it. Somebody preps that for you. It goes on your calendar. And then, is that what happens?
Yeah, but before it goes on my calendar, it kind of goes through a refiner's fire of, do I have to take this?
That's a good question.
Can Carl do it? Can Matt do it? Can Nick do it? Can Matt Boudreau do it? So depending on the business, is this something that requires my time? And if it's not something that I have to address, if it's a problem and they're coming with a solution, I don't have to be in. You already gave the solution. So there's this beautiful thing that's happening in the military right now. They're reorganizing the way that they do leadership in something that's called mission command. Mission command is a decentralized approach where I'm empowering the next lowest leader, the subordinate, to assume risk and responsibility and be able to make the decision on their own as long as they're in alignment with the philosophy and commander's intent. So my job is to communicate clearly my intent. Like, this is what we're trying to do with this business or with the culture. And then the person that is running that project should be able to make all of the decisions. The only time it should come to me is if, like, there isn't a solution. So here's 3 bad options.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm like, that sucks. Let's go with option B, which is the least of the 3.
I always giggle that I think the CEO's real job, like, everybody wants a CEO job, and all it is you get the worst problems all the time that nobody else can solve.
Yeah, worst personnel problems usually.
Yep.
And then worst financial situations.
Yeah. The other thing that I've really noticed with you, like getting to know you over the last year or so, is you do a really good job setting expectations and communicating very concisely. So I was wondering, like, did you always know that? Did you learn that? How do you teach somebody?
Yeah, like, and you ask my wife if I'm a good communicator. No,
maybe not that type.
Yeah, it's discipline, but I think it's become a byproduct of just not having time. And then when you don't have time and you look at the available time that you have, and everybody says that time is this, like, most important resource. I argue that attention is the most important resource. I could be doing something specific with my time, but if my attention is elsewhere, or 100% of my attention is focused on something else, or ineffective or inefficient in the time that I have, I'm just wasting my attention. Yeah. So to answer your question concisely, I know I'm pretty self-aware of what I'm good at. Yeah. And all of the other things, I'm not going to spend my time on because I'm wasting my attention on those things. I'd rather just defer to the expert. You know, as I'm over there talking to Chris and I'm struggling through a couple of things, and he's really good at those things. So I was like, can we go talk about these things so I can use your expertise to answer things that I don't truly understand about how to invest in some things that are coming across the desk? He's like, yeah, jiu-jitsu, coffee, money, done.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I found that people who are the most successful typically have the least knowledge ego out there. Not that we don't all have big egos. I'm sure you have a big ego in many ways, but you're like, no, I don't care where the information comes from. If it's better than me, smarter than me, gonna make me more money, gonna make me more efficient, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the people who don't succeed are the ones that they think they got to do it all by themselves.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And as I've had like 5 different careers in my life at this point, from fighting for world championships to obviously in the military, the entrepreneur, author, the Walt Whitman approach of, don't be judgmental, be curious. Your ego will always get in the way of that. If like, I know everything, and I will be judgmental about how much money you have or your approach to business. Inversely, the opposite end of that is, I just want to understand more. I just want to know more. And I'm so curious about it. How many times am I asking you about how to do something or what to do? It's that curiosity is what gives us growth.
Yeah, it's so good. You said another thing that I loved, which was you tweeted, a wise man once said, be careful who you let on your ship, because some people will sink the whole ship just because they can't be the captain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? And how do you watch out for that?
I think there's three kind of energies with people. You have people that create negative energy. They're just like a succubus of joy and attention, and they need to be in these positional places of authority. And then you have kind of energy neutral people that they want to contribute, but they also have their goals and their ambitions. And those are amazing employees. Those are incredible people. And then there's just the natural leaders. That's the Mike Weimers. That's the General Georges. That's the Mattises that bring a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of expertise, no ego, and they joyfully will stand in the back while somebody else gets the credit for their accomplishments. Yeah. It's a really dangerous thing who we surround ourselves with. It's scriptural. It's very clear, that you effectively become who you surround yourself with. This also, studies have shown, economically, financially, your circle, plus or minus $100,000, is where you're going to end up. Yeah. But I am disgusted to the ladder climber that's always looking for like a rich person to hang around. That's a disgusting person. Yeah. But the people that I get to spend time with are joyful, kind, energy positive people that are incredibly successful as a byproduct of who they are as a person.
Yeah. So when you're looking for those natural leaders and the energy positive, how do you find them? Like, can you tell when you go and meet somebody, can you immediately look at them in the windows through their soul and say, that's you?
I having been embezzled a few times, I say,
haven't we all?
Yeah, I'm a great judge of character, right? A trained interrogator that gets, back to no ego. In the interview, you can usually tell pretty quickly somebody that's sincere and authentic, somebody that is kind and generous, and especially for like middle management or above, I always go and eat with them. I always want to share a meal with them. I want to see how they treat the staff. I want to see how long it takes them to pick what they're gonna eat.
Amen. That's top priority.
Yeah, man. You walk into, we got great coffee in Austin, and they're like, "Hey, want to grab a cup of coffee?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's meet at Starbucks." Cool, not getting hired.
Yes. See, I didn't even prep it with that. Yeah. I have a war on Starbucks.
Yeah, but not just philosophically, because like we're on opposite ends, and they're a competitor, but they're just terrible coffee with horrible milk. And then you walk in and they're like, I want a soy latte with 2.5 pumps, and like you spelled my name on the cup wrong. And how they tip, I judge on that to see if they're a generous person or if they're like boastfully being generous because they're with me, or if like they're tipping to be appropriate and kind, and they like see a server's name and they use their name when they're addressing them. Like all these little tiny things are just little snapshots into who this person is. They sit down at the table to order, and you're like, imagine that person in your office. I will wear their skin in like 5 days as they So like you got to create authentic opportunities to see who these people are. And anybody, when they're well fed, they're caffeinated, they're dressed up nice, and they walk into the office nice and prepared, they can put it on a show for 20 minutes. You got to take them out of that environment to kind of get a picture of their character. That's a hard thing to do sometimes.
That's a really good point.
I also think about when I look back at like where I've gone wrong with my dad has a line that I love, which is like, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy. And I mean, I think about that a lot in business, or at least you better be real thoughtful if you're going to do a deal with a bad guy, and you better make sure to CYA. But one of the things that I've noticed too is it's hard for bad guys to last past like 4 or 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Like it's like it wears off throughout the day. And so I think that idea of just like increasing the surface area of exposure is a really easy way to figure out, do I actually want to work with this person? Do I like them? The other thing that I've noticed, I'd be curious if you have anything else about people who have been bad for you, because I do think your worst decisions won't usually be the actions taken, but the humans chosen. And so like I've noticed also those types, underhanded digs, passive aggressive, like real high indicator for doesn't really like you, doesn't like maybe super high charisma, but doesn't actually like you.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything else that you thought, oh, anytime I see that, out?
Yeah, I try not to be like snap judgment on, because we don't know what's going on in somebody's life, but there's definitely in the aggregate and like the collective of how they treat other people. In that idea of, after 4 p.m., again, that surface area of trying to find opportunities outside of this conducive environment for them to put on a show, where when in special operations during selections, whether it's BUD or Special Forces selection or any of the other units, you're always being selected. When we're recruiting, I wouldn't go and recruit somebody because they were like the best and the fastest. It's when they weren't on, we'll use the field, they weren't on the field, and they're on the bench and their team is out. And how are they supporting them? How are they encouraging them? When they come back in, hey, great job. Have you thought about doing this? Those are all selfless opportunities where they're not looking for the limelight. Rather, they're looking for ways to encourage the team to succeed. And, when you look at professional athlete recruiters, they love going to games where that star player that they're there to recruit is playing against not a peer level team to see how good this person is. They already know how good they are. They're trying to get a peek into that person's character. Like, are they picking up gear at the end of the game? When the person has when one of their teammates has a rough session on the field or on the ice and comes off and they're like, oh man, like, you're doing great. Like let's keep going. Like you can get this. Those are the snapshots where, again, that motto of you're always being selected, you're always being graded, you're always where it's really difficult in the work environment to see into somebody's character and to see what their grit looks like. And when somebody shows you, believe them.
Yeah, that's true.
When they're a passive aggressive dick, they're a passive aggressive dick. When they're leaving early to go do the thing that they need to do, hey, I gotta believe them. And I've never let someone go in a layoff or fired somebody that I was not immediately relieved within 48 hours that was the right thing. And I wish that I had done it months prior.
Me too.
Ever.
I know. I've never once regretted a fire, which is fucking crazy.
But every single time you're like, why didn't I just do it like 2 months ago? It would have
Every time.
saved me. It would have, every single time.
Every time. You've also said something that I loved. You said
I see a lot of stuff.
you said you want to avoid idiots in your life. Live a life they can't exist in. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, and I mean it. I was just texting with Andy Stumpf as I was driving here, hands free. I wasn't like on my phone, and I was not disparaging people, but I was rather praising the small circle of people that I have now, and this small circle in the refiner's fire. When you're making a weapon in a forge, you take a chunk of metal that's of good quality, but it still has a lot of imperfections in it, and it has to take a shape. And you stick it in the fire, you heat it up, which is torture to the metal, and then you take it out and you pound it. And every time that you pound it, those little tiny bursts of fire, those are imperfections coming out of the metal. And then you submerge it and you repeat that process hundreds of times. And then whatever that tool is supposed to become, a hammer, a sword, it then starts taking the shape of that. And your friends have to be that way. If it's a crappy piece of metal, it will break, it will rust, it will oxidize, it will chip, and it will fall away and ultimately become useless. That circle, I cannot have idiots in my life, and there are no idiots left in my life because they can't exist in the life that I live. That's a life of selflessness. That's a life of discipline. That's a life of commitment. That's a life of monogamy to my wife. That's a life of purpose for my children. And it's so clear and it's so obvious when people don't share those values. We're on a work trip and I'm walking in the lobby. The bar is to the left, the elevator is to the right. I know that our first meeting is at 8 a.m. in the morning. I was just in New Hampshire for SIG, and our first meeting was there at 8 o'clock. We're about 25 minutes, so I knew I had to leave by 7:30. I wanted to make sure I got a good, healthy breakfast with plenty of water. So moving in reverse planning, that means my workout is going to be at like 5:45, 6. Gives me a 45-minute workout, 25 minutes to get eggs, shower, dress, leave by 7:30. So as I'm walking in, I know that's what my morning is going to look like. The person that I was traveling with saw a couple of cute little hotties in the bar. It could not have been more clear. Option A, go left. Option B, have a plan, go right, go to the elevator, take a shower, go to bed, wake up, work out, go to my meeting, go home to my wife. Sure, I could go left and like maybe I'm not going to go hook up with them, but I'm just going to talk to them, you know. Then I'll have a couple of drinks too. But then they're like, oh, the bar's closing, last call, maybe we'll just go upstairs and we'll just hang out for a couple of times. We'll take a couple of drinks to go. Then we go upstairs to the room and we're hanging out. And like, obviously the slippery slope of a bad decision all was the genesis, the catalyst was walking through the door without a plan. So that person cannot exist in my life. That person is not going to be in one of my companies. Because if you're faithful in the small things, you can be faithful in the big things. And if you're not going to be faithful to your wife, you're not going to be faithful with my money. If you're not going to be disciplined with what you're going to be doing with your time, you're not going to be disciplined with my time. And you can get fucked. You know, like get out of my life. I don't want it.
A round
I know
of
that
applause
sounds
for
harsh,
that.
but like
no, 100%. I think, you know, in a world in which discipline is not normal and in which people do not put those on high who do good things, but who do flashy things, I think finding other people who have that same moral compass is rare and beautiful. And so, and you know, especially for people who have options, one of the other things you said, Jesus, you have said a lot, you're talking all the time, is that, you know, and it might not have just been you might have been quoting somebody else, maybe it was Jordan Peterson, about how he said that, you know, it's not, what does he say about the violent man? It's like, do you remember his line?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get the wave tops because it's a long quote, but ultimately the bluff, the bottom line up front is a weak man is not a good man because he's not capable to do one or the other. A strong man that's capable of violence but chooses to be kind, chooses to be gentle, he's clearly morally a good man because he has the capable to do violence. That weak man is just, frankly, useless. He can't protect you. And if he can't protect you, then he definitely can't hurt you because he's weak and useless. On the other end of the spectrum is the man that is capable of great violence. And rather, he touches you gently. His hands are calloused. He has never set down the sword, but he has never used the sword against you, but rather only to defend you. And that it's a beautiful concept, whether it's in business, in the military, you know, I've never had a harsh hand to my children, not once out of anger. You know, I woke up at 5:30 this morning to go to Gracie and I to Cedar Park to train with Giancarlo Bodoni, the 2-time ADCC world champion, who was teaching class at 6 a.m. to come home to make breakfast for my kids before they went to school. And that is the standard that I expect from everybody that I'm going to spend time with.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What about
when you were not this level of man yet, because you are very open too about not having been that forever, like all of us, can you attract great leaders and team members if you are not a great leader and team member?
Yeah, you can. There are, especially in the military, it's hard because often, the worst get promoted. And
everybody felt that before? They're
yeah,
like, yeah, my boss.
It happens in business, it happens in the military, and really great leaders will go into a bad leadership problem because they run towards the sound of gunfire. They turn and they face the problem and they want to address it. And they see whether it's a culture problem, a leadership problem, a substance abuse problem in leadership. They put themselves in, and they're going to that bad leader, not for that leader, but rather for the benefit of the collective. And like, give me that guy.
Yeah, chosen hard.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I want to open this up to questions in a second, but this is a room full of either current owners or entrepreneurs or those who want to delve into it. And I'm sure all of them would love 60 seconds with Tim to say, like, what piece of advice would you give me? I know it's broad, but what would you give a group of aspiring on their way entrepreneurs and owners?
Yeah, I mean, growth is not linear, in business or more often as a person. If you read my book, Scars and Stripes, you'll see failure after failure after failure after failure after failure. I didn't fail at the same thing twice. So I'm either like extraordinarily versatile in all the ways that I can fail at something. That's not an attribute that you want to be good at. So I'm writing a book right now called The Purpose of Pain. And every moment of growth in my life has come from adversity. Every single opportunity for character development, the catalyst was a mistake. I put my hand on the stove and I burnt my hand. I learned not to put my hand on the stove. I was dating Kyria Gabrielle Battaglia in college. She was like 4 or 5 years older than me. She was like a 10. I was young and like a 6.5. And, when she's hooking up with like 3 other dudes, she broke my heart. I learned a lesson, not at the 6, not to hook up with the 10 it's a good lesson. You go into a partnership with a guy that doesn't have the moral values, but has the acumen to look successful and to look the part, but you didn't take him to lunch. You didn't see how he treated the waiters, but you did know that he had a side thing with his wife. And then lo and behold, he embezzles you for, a few $100,000. Who here is surprised by that?
Yep.
Yeah. I was. If you want to know how dumb I am, there's another example. Like, the list is long and distinguished of all the ways that I've messed up.
Oh, yeah.
But embrace the suffering, embrace the adversity, embrace the struggle, because that is the process. Like that title, The Purpose of Pain, is we're in an era where everyone's getting softer, everybody's getting weaker, everybody's getting poorer, everybody's getting, sicker. It doesn't have to be that way. You can just rather go the opposite direction of the masses and choose discipline, choose regiment, choose pain, choose struggling, choose adversity. And on the far side of that hard work is everything that you've ever wanted.
Agree. Yeah, well, the other thing too is if you guys ever are not motivated, Tim's Instagram is incredible because this psychopath does all these workouts nonstop, and you'll notice one thing about them, or I do. He's always like laughing or smiling while he's doing the world's worst workout of all time. And I noticed this because my husband's sort of the same way. He's like, he finds joy in pain, sort of. And so he's a great follow on Instagram. But I also love that about you is, you almost smile, you wickedly smile while you're suffering.
Yeah. That once more into the fray is the Scottish people lifting up their kilts and, whipping their ding dongs around before they charge the English. That happened. Like, that is historical. This idea is we're outnumbered 3-1. They have heavy cavalry, but I'm gonna like whip my dick around to let you know like where my headspace is at. That is this idea of like, I'm looking at the scariest thing. I'm looking at adversity and struggle. But I've surrounded myself with extraordinary, wonderful people, and I'm going to go into it with joy. And happiness and joy is a choice. Everybody, all of us, I'm not going to go into all of your lives. All of us have struggles. And, you know, if I don't believe this curated, editorialized crap that's on social media, you know, if you could pull back a couple of layers and see some of the struggles that I have in my life right now, I still got to wake up at 5 whatever, kiss my beautiful wife on the cheek, you know, go get a rad workout with a 2-time world champion that's way better than I am now in my mid-40s. And as he's in like the peak of his career and mopped the mats with my soul. And I was in joy and gratefulness the whole entire time. And that was a choice. I landed from a trip overseas in the wee hours of the morning last night. You know, flew over the Atlantic at whatever midnight in a red eye to come here and get a great workout, and then come here and have a great conversation. Jet lagged as heck, but filled with joy and gratefulness. So it's a choice.
I love that. Okay, yeah. What a good human. Okay, I'm going to come to you for a question too. One thing I'll say also is if you guys haven't checked out, I know they're always filled, but he has these sheepdog response courses here, which I'm going to have a bunch of my female employees take too. But they're incredible for team building and leadership. And so learning how to defend one another, learning how to do hard things, it's another thing that I think is really cool that you did. Okay, and the only thing I'm going to ask is we don't have a ton of time. Tim literally has to jet out of here, so we're going to usher him out. He's not going to have time to like sit and take pictures. It's our fault for programming scheduling, so just let him beeline out of here.
I have 17 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to go right here to a question.
Quick hit for you. Tim, I want to say thank you for your incredible service to our country. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go in fast mode here because I know there's probably tons of questions for you. Thank you again for your tips on your empathetic energy that you glean from your folks that are going to bring into your company. But what are your sneaky 1 to 2 questions that you ask folks where they reveal more of themselves?
Easy. Yeah, one is what does a typical day look like for you? Like I can tell you from 5:30 a.m. tonight or this morning until 8:30 p.m. tonight when my kids go to bed. I'm not going to go into what I plan on doing from 8:30 until 10:30 from when my wife goes to bed. But from literally 5:30 a.m. until 10:30 tonight, I know every minute of my day has been planned. And I'm not looking for, you can look at somebody's calendar and I know if that is a $5 million entrepreneur, if that is a $1 billion business owner, just by your calendar. And similarly, the role that I'm hiring you for, your approach to your time should be equivalent and appropriate for the role that you're about to go into. So that's one. What is your timeline like? And then 2 is I want to see failure. I despise, like, you know, the question of what do you struggle with? You're like, man, I struggle with caring so much. Yeah, come on. I love the transparency, humility. That is a really good indicator when somebody truly gives you a fault. You know, like something that they're struggling with. Their child has diabetes, and and I'm in the business of protection and preparedness. You know, and they sit there and honestly, like, power goes out. My insulin is going to last 6 months. My kid dies in 7, and I can see they're scared. Man, I want that person on my team.
So good. All right, Alex, yeah.
Hey, Tim, how are you? I'm a business owner who helps other business owners, and I'm on a mission to help as many business owners as possible duplicate their efforts and get out of the day-to-day operations in just 90 days so they have more time to work on their business versus in their business. I'm curious to know, what is your best piece of advice to help business owners who have limiting beliefs that no one can run the business better than them?
A successful future business owner, non-entrepreneur, and there I get the phase of the grind. The business owns you, where later you own the business. For that transition to happen is you're going to have to be able to build, mentor, and then ultimately delegate responsibility and authority to the people that are going to be running that. And that is a selfless act. That is you having faith and a little bit of courage in the people that you are bringing into your organization to do it, and they're going to do it better than you. Your ego will get in the way every single time. I promise you, every single person in my office, Matt Smith, Yako Kalili, Zach Mayo, Carl Kringle, they are smarter than me. They are better at what they do than I could ever, like what they do in the business is better than what I do. Matt Boudreau running Apogee, he's 1,000 times better than what I could do in that same role. And like having the confidence that that person can do that thing, that business will own you forever until you make that transition to you owning the business and empowering other people to do it for you.
Beautiful.
You're working a lot in North Carolina. I know, or at least from my understanding, you specialize more in the triage side, but we have a bunch of people with trades businesses here. So can we partner with you, or is there an organization that you partner with that we can donate materials, time, people to help rebuild the community?
Yeah, this was a great question. I appreciate it. This was the first time that we've actually ever done a United States CONUS-based disaster response, and it was because it was in North Carolina. North Carolina is the home to special operations on the Army side. It's also the home to our headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it would have been really selfish for us not to pivot some of our resources to a disaster there. And we are definitely—
Say the name of the organization.
It's Save Our Allies. And if you email info@saveourallies.com, or you can just drop my email down. What is the one for Save Our Allies? I think it's tim@saveourallies.org. We have Caroline, who runs all partnerships, and we partner with probably 20, 30 different people in government, and then 50, 60 businesses that have legitimate contribution. There's a lot of people that, hey, we can help, so our name is on something, so we can say we're there to help. No, like General Donahue, he's a 3-star general. He does not allow anybody to contribute. He will eliminate them from an organization in a heartbeat if they're not bringing significant resources to the table. We just don't have time to manage hundreds of small, I want to have my name on a billboard for an investment type partners. So on the construction side, we're rebuilding bridges and roads. We're fixing houses, building entire downtowns that have been decimated. So we would love help. SaveOurAllies.org is the organization, and that's the way to go.
Anna, I'm going to make sure you get one of Tim's books too. Beautiful question. Thank you for being a giver.
So given your experiences in the high stakes fields of military, MMA, business, do you have any principles or mindset shifts that you have found most valuable for thriving under pressure, and then how that can be effective in high-paced business environments?
Yep. There's a special operations truth that says you cannot prepare for a crisis after the crisis occurs. The soft truths are the cornerstone to the book that I'm writing, The Purpose of Pain right now. Another one that applies to that is that people are more important than hardware. Those two soft truths, the first one, you cannot prepare for a crisis after a crisis occurs, and that people are more important than hardware. I can have the nicest computer on the desk of all these employees, and I can have the best chair, a standing desk, and whatever the current 2024 work optimization environments are. But if the person's not the right person, and if I'm not recognizing that me mentoring and building the next leader is the most important thing that I can do, I'm just wasting my money and pouring stuff uselessly into equipment and stuff, because people are the most important commodity. And you have to prepare. When I said before I go into a meeting, preparation occurs and rehearsals occur. Like I don't just have a white paper about who I'm about to talk to, which includes their bio, what their ask is going to be, what we want to do in that partnership. I then rehearse. I will sit down with Carl and we'll go over like even role playing and wargaming, what that conversation is going to be like, how a couple of different options as the conversation unfolds, you know, and then I'm pleasantly surprised when somebody brings in something that I didn't prepare for. I'm like, yeah, sick.
Okay, last question here, just briefly, please, my dear.
I speak quickly. My question was, you were talking about the switch in military attitude of new leadership. How can we get that not only in our businesses, but also into our society and especially into our governments? I'm from London. We have the NHS. It's a nightmare of middle managers who are afraid to do anything and be held accountable for anything ever going wrong, even if it would be the reasonable choice. What's your hot take on what we could do to enact that change?
Individual responsibility in the preamble of the Constitution. Please, if you don't have the Constitution and you haven't read it in a while, please pick it up and read it. The entire idea of we the people was only possible because the people were a capable, individually responsible group of people. And they carved their existence out of the wilderness. They fought Indians and bears. Then they had a tyrannical government that said they were going to impose a 5% tax on a single commodity, and they threw tea into a harbor, and then one shot heard around the world. They killed every single one of those people that represented that government and then kicked them off the continent. And that was only possible because the people were strong, the people were disciplined, the people were educated. And like in the military, we are able to do mission command as our new command approach because we are going to have faith and confidence that down to the small unit level, they are training the soldiers in their key medal task. So every unit has a medal, mission essential task list. A cook is going to have a way different medal task than an infantryman. An infantryman is going to be able to shoot, move, communicate, medicate. A cook is going to be able to purify water, you know, remove bacteria from food and be able to provide nutrients to the fighting force. Very different medal tasks. But I, as a leader, am going to have high confidence that once I give my intent, that they're going to be being able to execute that because I have trained them and I have mentored them and I've prepared them to be able to assume the authority, the responsibility, and then I'll authorize them to go and take that, and be able to make those decisions without me being there. And there'll be a learning curve. They're going to make mistakes, just like you would. It's not like if you were in that role, you're going to bat 1,000. You're going to make mistakes just like they will. And you will use those as opportunities for both of you to grow, one, you as a leader, and then them as an individual to be able to contribute in a more meaningful way as time goes on.
Beautiful. All right, Tim Kennedy, everybody. Thank you, Tim.